enjoy the film.
You want butter on your popcorn?
The theater will be ready in a second.
Bad news.
Oh, no.
I talked about Donald Sutherland.
Oh, for how long?
The whole time.
Oh, no.
This time I got to the
Kyle.
point where we were out to dinner. This was with Megan.
Oh, with Megan?
Yeah.
Fun.
So I really messed up. Because Megan is
Wow.
fun. And Megan, I feel like, is someone who, like,
Could know Donald Sutherland.
could be into hearing about Donald Sutherland.
Now, this is a weird... I kind of... Well, you all know this about me. I kind of have an autotonal memory, but it's suggestive. So I remember some things if I've heard it before.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, did I
Did
know
you
this
not
about
know
you? I
this?
don't even know what you're saying right now.
So anyway...
I know what these words mean, but they don't add up.
Go on.
Phonogenic.
Phonogenic?
Phonogenic
You mean
instead of photogenic?
photographic? Photogenic means you
Phonogenic?
look good in a picture.
Meaning you look good in sound?
What are you trying to say, Greg?
I remember some things I've heard.
Okay.
And I remember Megan saying something about Donald Sutherland.
Mm-hmm. She was. I remember this too. This is why I was like, this would be a good next person
This
to
is
ask
your
out,
in.
because like if I do screw up and talk about Donald Sutherland for like the 2 to 3 minutes that I've given myself,
Yes.
maybe she'll be okay with it. And I
Right.
think she was for the first 2 to 3 minutes, but then
Then it just kept
then
going.
it just kept going. But I was having a conversation with someone. I believe it was you. That might be why you remember this. And but you only remember the sound. But she was talking about her top 10 favorite actors, and Donald Sutherland was on that list.
That's right.
And you were talking about your favorite actors. Well, you
Dame
love
Judi Dench.
Judi Dench, yeah.
Helen Mirren. Julie Andrews. Maggie Smith.
For some reason, you really don't like Betty White.
Betty White knows what she did.
I can almost guarantee she
I will
doesn't.
not justify discussing what she has done on this hallowed podcast we host.
Okay.
Angela Lansbury.
So I was out to dinner with Megan, and the topic of Donald Sutherland came up. It came up organically.
Nice.
We were eating, and then I said, "Do you know who is great? Donald Sutherland." And then I started talking.
Good
about it.
segue. Good segue.
Very good segue.
Very natural. It's a natural like topic of conversation.
Seamless.
And then I went off. Our food came. We ate. I mean, she ate. I was still talking.
You were talking.
I kind of put food in my mouth, but it just comes back out. And then, because I'm still talking, she ordered dessert.
She left.
She left.
You paid.
And I paid, and as I was paying, I was talking to the server about Donald Sutherland. I was still like, I didn't.
They probably
think
had
this was
tables.
they probably had stuff to do.
Oh, Kyle.
But I just kind of grabbed his arm.
You're Donald sabotaging yourself.
I am, and I don't know how to not.
We should wingman you.
That would be.
Will wingman you.
Honestly, all I need is we need a signal where if I start talking about Donald Sutherland and it's too much, you know the right amount to talk about Donald Sutherland.
We know the exact right amount to talk about
perfect
Donald
amount.
Sutherland.
Once I hit that limit, if one of you was like in
Okay, you can
the
stop
restaurant,
now. There we
Like
go.
that's a
So
good
when
signal.
he gets
There
it,
you go.
when he hits his limit, we'll come in and we'll take over.
There you go.
Should we do some sort of thing where like I have a microphone in my ear?
Yes,
or like
you'll have a microphone in your ear. You'll have a microphone in your ear.
right, not a
Not a
earbud.
receiver. And then in your other ear, you'll have an earpiece.
Right.
Which will be feeding a microphone that into which Henry and I will both be speaking, feeding you advice.
Perfect.
And we can have the Donald Sutherland Wikipedia page open just in case.
You're
We
not
don't
gonna
need to do
it,
that.
No,
He wrote the Wikipedia
I
page.
did.
That sounds good. If
Yeah.
you can find another woman to woo.
Yes.
Don't be mean.
Ooh.
I'm trying.
You're doing
I
a
haven't
great
been on a
job.
date.
Doing a
I don't
fantastic
years.
job with not talking about Donald Sutherland
So
sometimes.
good.
Let's get the podcast started.
Let's do it.
There we go.
My name is Kyle McKlinsky.
My name is Greg Basil.
I'm Henry Harrison.
A little wavery at the end there.
It was a different kind of different kind of pause. It wasn't so much of a pause as an elongation.
Yeah,
It's
or
called
you kind of.
trepidation.
Oh,
Trepidation.
and the
Well.
definition of that is.
When you're treading water, but you also like flowers.
Huh.
Yeah, sounds about right.
There you go. Yeah.
And let's get the show
Also
going.
like flowers. So, what is it when somebody is treading water who doesn't like flowers?
Trepidation.
Obviously.
All right. I'm sorry. I
This
didn't
isn't
know.
a word podcast.
I'm terribly sorry. I'm a verbophile.
A verbophile?
Verbophile. I like
herbivore?
words. I like
A
vegetables.
verbophore.
What's a verbophore? I don't know. I'll tell you when I find out.
I'll tell you, verb of after I find out.
So this week we watched a movie, and we're gonna discuss it.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This movie, I just want to say right off the bat. Thank you, Greg. A little derivative of another popular film from days gone about a man who owned a factory and invited some kids there, and many of them died. I think you all know what I'm talking about.
Let's all say it at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Hostile.
The movie I was thinking of was Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh, right.
This film
my
is-
goodness.
There are some parallels to this one.
Right.
If you look
sorry.
close enough.
If you looked close enough.
Even in the title, really.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
'Cause it's
Which
called
was...
Willy Dilly's Wonky Factory.
And a wonky factory it was.
That it was.
Oh my. So this movie, to start off with the parallels, this movie starts off with a jovial song about salamis and other cured meats.
The Salami Mommy song.
The salami mommy, and they're like, who can pack a casing full of munchy meats?
And so they're cramming their hands into these the stomach lining.
into these casings, into these intestinal casings, where they're just shoving pieces of
Just bloody meat.
yes, and they're hanging them up and they're smoking them and they're aging them. They're
This is
Doing
at-
lines of
them.
them.
Yeah, this is at the meat store, which is called Salami Mommies.
salami mommies,
Where
and
this-
all the children they
Yeah.
run in after school and they've all got their money.
This elderly woman is passing out
Yeah,
meat.
passing out meats. He's passing out pancetta, diced pancetta,
Little smokies and with
little
toothpicks.
smokies, and bacon strips.
And this is where we meet our main character, whose name is Carly Pail.
Carly Pail.
And she comes and she's like, I'm here for my daily meat. I've got a bunch of grandparents who all live in my house, and they all sleep in one bed,
I've got 18
And there's nothing weird about
grandparents.
that.
and they're demanding meat, as
Ugh.
usual.
And so she comes in. She's got her little penny or whatever, some coin. She slaps it there on the table.
And the Salami Mommy is like,
Is like, well,
there's a meat shortage right now.
yeah, because the meat factory,
It's been closed up for decades.
Willy Dilly's.
We've just been coasting on the meat that it produced, but now hasn't produced meat for a long
Yeah.
time, and we're running out of meat.
And Carly, she says, oh, I've heard tell about Willy Dilly's meats and how they're so great, and salami mommy, the titular salami mommy.
Well, not titular. Well, I guess for the store, not
For the store,
movie.
not for the movie. She says, or maybe eponymous.
I don't know.
This isn't a word podcast. She starts singing about how Willy Dilly's meats were the best meats that she's ever had, and she's never had meats like Willy's.
There's kind of an allusion to this second layer to that story
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
You kind of get the sense she and Willie have had a run-in
Had
before.
a sexual
And maybe
encounter.
a couple run-ins.
Oh.
in the same encounter. Anyway, so she's singing about Willie's meats,
And about how they're the best meats you could ever. And
biggest
she's
she's ever seen.
Girthy meats, and she's talking about how these meats have been made and
Changed her life under a waterfall somewhere.
how they're made by mysterious figures that Willy has found from a far off land and brought.
Legends are, if you look at the factory at night, you'll see meat hanging in the windows,
Yeah.
on meat hooks, but it's not producing any meat. There's nothing coming out of the meat chute.
So what's going on? And so Carly's like, thanks for the song and dance and all, but I really have to get back to my 18 grandparents.
I still need meat for my grandparents.
Meet me. Meet me in the middle here, Salami Mommy. And so Salami Mommy gets off of the counter where she was dancing, and she's like, well, all right, for this coin you can get all this meat. And she hands her a bunch of meat. And Carly leaves. And as she's leaving, she's walking by, the people who are just milling about on the street, and they've got their newspapers, and one of them's talking to another one. One of the people is talking to another person, and he's saying, "Have you heard about how Willy Dilly's going to do a freaking This isn't a word podcast, but I can't think of the word.
Tour of the contest?
Yeah, there's a contest to get into this tour. Have you heard of this contest? And the other person's like, wow, it took you a long time to think of the word contest.
It's even
Like,
written
listen,
on
this
the
isn't
paper.
a word podcast.
Which was a weird little...
A weird thing, because
strange thing to say.
Do they have word podcasts?
This was like in the age of radio.
Yeah. So they Carly walks past and she's like, wow, it certainly would be nice to get into that tour if I could win that podcast, but you have to find a bronze token inside a salami wheel. They don't come in wheels.
They do in this town.
Yeah, which is super cool.
their
Willy
meat
Dilly's
comes down a chute, and it's wheels of salami.
wheels of salami.
It rolls down the chute faster that way.
Hey, there you go. There you go. And so she takes all the meat and she gets home, where her mother is cooking over a stove, and she's like, well, and Carly comes in and she says hello, and all the grandparents say hello, and she goes and kisses all of their foreheads, and she's saying their names, which are so numerous. Why
And
get into
super
it?
irrelevant to the rest of the film.
her mom is like, oh, good, I can dump out this vegetable stew, and she just pours it out the window, and she's like, now we got the meats, so let's
what
cook
people
those
really
up,
want.
because that's all your grandparents eat. So she starts, she has a big colander, a big pot, and she's just stirring around all the meats in this pot.
Dumps it all in one pot.
They got hams.
She's like, this will last for tonight. This is like
That's the good thing about these meats. They last a long time.
So
8 hours.
because they don't have a refrigerator.
No, there's no refrigerator.
This is a poor family. They only have enough 1 coin a day for a big bag of meat to make meat for that night, and it goes bad by morning.
And so their mom's preparing dinner, and Carly starts to explain, like, oh, did you hear that Willy Dilly's factory is holding a contest?
And one of the grandparents,
Willy Dilly, I remember that factory. It made the best salami wheels. My goodness. Willy's meats are the best.
He's just drooling all over his face. He like can't
Down
he's
his
salivating.
beard.
Yeah.
He's just down the front of his shirt. Like it's
it's gross.
it's perturbing.
And so Carly is saying, well, wouldn't it be fun if I could get into that tour? And every single one of the grandparents says, in unison, best
In your dreams.
not- They're all just putting her down. And then they're like, are you kidding me? Have you seen yourself?
Nothing good happens to you. You live in a house with 18 grandparents in
Yeah.
one bed.
You're a loser.
Do you smell it in here? We haven't gotten up all day.
And
And
all we
these bed
eat
stores
is
won't wash
warm meat.
themselves.
This isn't a word podcast, but it's pungent in here.
And so they start eating their stew. Mm-hmm. And no sooner has Carly taken her first bite, but she bites down on a bronze coin or whatever
Breaks her tooth.
type of coin it was.
Right, right. It makes a noise. She
she
pulls
goes,
out a tooth and a token.
And a token.
Uh-huh. And she
Immediately, the grandparents start fighting over it.
yeah.
they're tackling each other. Like, honestly, way more spry than they should
You'd
be.
think they're
They think their
like,
brittle
confined to this
bones
bed,
and
yeah.
their bed sores would hold them in that bed, but
I think they were faking.
they were faking it.
It's like a bunch of animals.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was a bit much.
So they're fighting over this coin,
And the meat.
and
And the meat.
and ultimately,
Grandma Jean.
Grandma Jean, which is the
Grandpa,
only
Grandma.
named one that we really get to know throughout this film.
Right.
So Jean silences everybody, stops the bickering.
Everybody shut up!
Takes the coin.
Now Carly bit into this coin, so she's the one who gets it.
Hands the coin to Carly. And
Again, drool just pouring out of her mouth.
Barely understanding what they're saying.
she, and Jean's saying,
I remember Willy Dilly.
and so Carly's
Carly's just to shut her up.
says, "Thank you, Jean. Thank you." Looks at the coin and says, "Oh, looks like I'm eligible for the contest.
Maybe I'll bring one of my friends from school.
yeah,
and
party of
Jean's
one.
like, fuck no.
Fuck no! Look at the saliva coming out of my mouth.
The saliva!
And so
Grandma
Carly's
Jean is
mom,
gross.
take Jean, please take Jean.
Please get Jean
I
away
needed
from
I
me.
need a
out of
day
here.
off, all right?
Oh my god. And
So I can wash these sheets for once.
And so Carly says, Jean, would you like to go with me to Willy Dilly's? And Jean starts singing a song about how
I've got a lucky token.
I got a lucky token. I always thought that life would be a pile of shit, because why else would it not be? I mean, starts dancing around.
Look at me.
I got a lucky token.
And they're dancing around, and Carly's getting into it, and all the other grandparents are angry.
Angrily eating
They're all
their meat.
upset. They
Yeah.
wanted to go. They're not accepting of this.
No.
They're like, why? Jean is just the most annoying, so, they get to go? What is? Why?
Yeah. But Carly's mom, she's like, everybody shut up. Jean's going, and they're going now.
Go wait outside the factory.
So they go down to the factory.
They go down to the factory.
and they wait outside the meat chute. And like slowly, over the course of the whole night, news crews start to come out. All the little kids start to come out. They're like, Willy Dilly's gonna come out. Like Willy Dilly.
Other token winners are showing
Willy
up.
Dilly was dead. And so at the crack of dawn, this is early in the morning. The gates slide open. The WD sign, lights up.
Willy Dilly.
And you hear just this tumbling noise, just grunts like, oh, and Willy Dilly falls down the meat chute.
Comes
Falls
right
out.
out the meat chute. The first thing to come out of the meat chute in decades.
Decades.
And it's
Willy
Willy Dilly.
bag of bones.
And
Willy Dilly.
like, ow.
And he's in a white tux.
He's hunched over like his back is broken.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And his tux, I would say, it used to be white, but he went down a meat chute.
It's pink at this
It's
point.
a little greasy.
Kind of pink and greasy.
So he snaps his back into place.
It wasn't necessarily a ruse. It was just
He might have hurt himself seriously.
Yeah.
So he readjusts. He's kind of still grabbing his back and like limping over to them.
fucking god damn it.
Shit.
And they're like,
And then he
Willy,
falls
Mike is
over and does a little somersault
Mike is
and plays it off
Yeah.
like he was
So he's
faking
like,
it.
I was just kidding it this whole time.
And that's what Willy sounds like.
And that's what Willy sounds like.
So it turns out there were what, five other tokens.
Yeah, 5 other tokens, so
five,
6 total.
yep.
5 other tokens.
Let's start to.
Yeah, so and each one of these kids kind of had its own archetype.
This is gonna be a long episode.
This is going to be fun.
Buckle in.
So there was a big, huge, fat kid who was being wheeled around in a wheelbarrow.
That was his whole archetype.
That was his deal.
He was just large.
Just this big, fat kid.
not a
very
great,
nice. Very nice.
Sylvester Goomp.
Sylvester Goop. There was Veronica Peppers, who was this snotty rich
she was
kid.
the rich girl.
Yeah, the rich kid.
There was Maggie Dillows.
Maggie Dillos, who liked to eat lollipops.
She chewed lollipops.
She never sucked
lollipops.
them.
So she always I'm always at her disposal, always putting a new lollipop in to crunch down on.
And then there was Steve, Sirius XM radio.
And he just listens to the radio.
He just listens to radio all the time.
And for some reason, that's a problem.
He likes radio shows, and he thinks of himself as like a detective.
So we've got Sylvester Goop, Veronica Peppers, Maggie Dillos,
Yeah.
and Steve Sirius XM radio. And
that's it. There was just 4.
And Carly Pail.
Carly
I said
Pail.
6.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
sorry,
there
it
you
was
go.
just 5.
There's just 5 tokens
Pail.
out.
Now you see, for those of you who have seen Willy Wonka and the Charlie Factory, you may notice there are some similarities here.
if you look close enough.
If you look closely, like if you blink, you can miss them.
Like, I think Steve Sirius XM radio might have been Augustus Gloop from Willy Wonka.
Maybe. I think it was
Isn't there like a
Veruca
Steve
Salt.
TV or something?
Mike TV.
I
Mike
don't
TV.
think those line up.
I don't
very
think
well.
those line up at all.
And Gloop and Goop are pretty dang close together. I mean,
I
Do you really
guess
think
so.
those two match
I
up?
guess so.
And I guess they do both fall into a river. I guess we'll get to that.
Well, we'll get there. Let's not put the carrot before we have chickens.
Let's not put the carrot before we have chickens. So
Willy
invites
Dilly
them all in.
invites them in.
Yeah, he's like, you all won this.
did everyone bring their elderly family member?
God, I'm in pain. he's like, everybody present your coins and we'll let you in here.
So he presents. He holds out his belt buckle, which has a little coin slot in it.
Coin
and
slot,
They start
and he-
slotting in their coins. And it unlocks his belt and his pants fall down, which was a little odd. But
like really, really bad look.
First thing, he's still in front of the news cameras at this point.
In front of children, and his
like,
pants fall down.
"Whoopsie."
Oopsies. Looks like my pants. Who wants to help me pick these up?
all right, next child.
That was just the first coin.
It happened 5 times. And then he lets them in the factory.
This is gonna be a day of whimsy.
Ooh. And so they all get in.
They
and
close the gates behind them. Nobody else is allowed in.
And they all have to climb up the meat chute.
And then they electrify the fence. So
Yes,
nobody
and
can.
we
get
know
in,
that
yeah.
because some other little kids they kind of with wonder in their eyes they come
Pushed
up to the
up
gates
against.
and they just fly backwards. They get shocked back.
Mm-hmm.
So they start climbing up the meat chute. Right?
Uh-huh.
That's the only way into
Yeah.
the factory.
Scrambling up a
And-
wet meat chute.
And Willy Dilly, he says, "Now I'm terribly sorry. We can't go through the front door because there's a problem. They're painting it or something, and it's locked. I can't find the key."
OSHA regulations.
Up the meat chute. And so they all get up the meat chute. And so our first glimpse into the factory as of yet.
Mm-hmm.
Our first shot. All these kids are coming out of the meat chute, and we just see their faces, and they're wide-eyed, and they're wide-eyed,
Their eyes are super
very wide.
They're agape. Their eyes.
Their eyes are
agape.
agape.
All their mouths are shut tightly.
Their mouths are shut. Their eyes are wide open, and they're just looking around. And we and Willy Dilly says, "Welcome to the factory." And we get a shot of the factory, and it is a slaughterhouse.
It is. There's nothing whimsical or fun about this factory.
It is.
There's animals strung up on hooks. There's animals in cages. There's animals being slaughtered. Like, this is
by these creatures.
There's small orange. They look like minions from Despicable Me.
There you go.
Right.
But they're
but
orange.
then they have really sharp teeth.
Really sharp teeth, and they're all sort of covered in like flaps of meat that have been like sewn together. almost
Right.
Like
Yeah,
Frankenstein's monsters.
Like
Hannibal
Lecter.
Hannibal.
Yeah, it's
Lecter
like they've taken pieces of meat from these animals and just kind of
formed them into clothing and
Yeah.
suits and masks.
So immediately we get Maggie Dillos. Maggie Dillos starts asking questions. She's like, "What?
are these
She
people?"
crunches down on a lollipop.
takes out a lollipop.
And crunches down on it, and is like, "So what are those things?" Willy Dilly just starts to explain. He's like, those are the Grumpy Doompies, and they make all the meats.
Don't look them in the eye.
They will attack.
They don't bite. Well, some of them do. And
If they come up to you, just don't look at them. Let them sniff you, and they'll walk off.
And then from behind Willy, you hear Sylvester Goop, and he's like, "You can eat everything in here," and it sounds like he's got a mouthful of something.
Mouthful of something,
and he's got a bunch of raw meat in his mouth.
Mm-hmm. This tastes so good.
And Willy Dilly is like, he just claps his hands, and the Grumpy Doompies, they walk over and they start to sing a song.
Like it was rehearsed or something.
Right, like they were expecting somebody to just put raw meat in their mouth.
To start shoveling meat off this conveyor belt.
And they start saying if you put the meat in your mouth, you better be willing to pay the price.
Grumpy Doompy, give me a bone. Don't eat the meat when it's in the danger zone.
Then they push him onto the conveyor belt, and he's wheeled off into some other part of the factory, and we never see him again.
Never see him again. Which was very quick.
Except for they do make sausages out of him.
Right. And this is,
It's
I'm
heavily
sorry, this is
implied
after he fell in that river.
Right, well, we skipped over the river part, but
The river of blood.
first he
river
fell into a
of
river
blood.
of blood. Then he got out. Then he started eating raw meat.
Willy Dilly was talking
He's
about the
just
river. He's
he's like, it's so delicious.
this tastes so good. And Willy Dilly, he's like, this is the only meat factory that churns our blood with waterfall. Do other factories churn their blood?
At all? I would assume no.
I would hope no.
So we're down to 4 kids now.
Down to
right.
4 kids.
And the one elder, Sylvester's grandfather.
Yes.
Who also came along. Mm-hmm. He's still there.
Sort of hanging out. He didn't seem that concerned.
No.
He's like, makes this wheelbarrow lighter.
Starts filling it with meat.
Now there's room for meat.
Yeah.
So they continue their way through the factory. Mm-hmm. And Willy Dilly's like, we're going to have to take a train to the next place. Mm-hmm. And they're like, well, how big is this factory? And he's like,
pretty damn
you
big.
would not believe. And so...
Doesn't look like much from the outside, but when you get in, there's a big ass on it, let me tell you.
He's not good with children.
No.
Do you want to see my pants roll
He
down
hasn't
again?
he hasn't picked up his pants yet.
Anybody else have any coins yet?
He's just shuffling around.
So they get on this train, and the door's shut, and Willy Dilly starts to kind of explain. He's saying some really cryptic shit at this point. Mm-hmm. And he's first starts kind of whimsical. He's like rhyming a little bit, and then the lights start to flicker, and we get this
meat's a treat. It's fun to eat.
You can beat the heat with the meat in your mouth.
But then it starts getting weird.
And then it starts getting weird as hell.
And he's saying stuff like, where do the hot dogs come from? What the hell is dry aging anyway?
Cured meat, where does it go?
What are we curing it of?
I didn't know there was anything wrong with it.
Mad cow? Okay. Not a problem for me.
And just it gets close in on his face, and this like the lights are going red and flashing, and then
he's sweating.
He's sweating a lot. This blood starts coming out of his eyes, and then it just stops. All of a sudden, ding, and the train doors slide open.
So here we are.
We've made it.
All the kids are just scared. They're frightened at
Just
this.
trembling, and the grandparents are like, "What the fuck is this place?
Yeah.
We gotta get our kids out of here."
Gene is there saying,
I never dreamed that this thing would be like this.
Big flaps of slobber just pouring
flaps
down.
of slobber. Ugh.
That's the only way to describe
That's
it.
a very good way.
Flopping on her chin as she
Oy.
speaks.
Ugh.
And
Just I guess to remind us that Gina was there.
there you go. So they're all there, and
Everyone's there.
except for Sylvester. And so they get out, and it's beautiful. There's this beautiful part of the factory. It looks kind of like the first scene of Wizard of Oz when they like land the house.
Sure. And there's
and there's
just
candy
bright
everywhere,
and-
but it's meat-like.
Yeah.
they're just in awe. They're like, wow, look at all this meat.
Yeah,
There's
what
free-range
is this?
chickens and cows just sort of milling about.
Yeah.
But they're already cooked. They're just walking around and he's like, you can just take off any part of this cow.
Yeah.
He just rips off a part of it and just
He's like, this is where we test out different modes of meat preparedness.
Like, Sylvester had the right idea, just in the wrong room. You can eat everything in here.
And so they're just ripping off like a chicken wing. It's fried, and they just eat it. And it's like just it's a meat paradise.
And Veronica Peppers speaks up, and she's like, "I want a meat house for myself.
Yeah, I'm gonna take this meat chicken home."
And her father is like, now, dear, you can't just go about and picking things up and taking
He's like,
things.
listen,
and
how much does this cost? Because I can buy anything.
And Willy Dilly says, "We're not here to satisfy the man. Down with the rich.
Eat the rich.
Eat the
If
rich.
the rich were in this room, you could eat them."
And he says, "You're in this room, Mr. Pepper."
And here come the
animals start to surround him.
Yeah, the animals start to surround him, being ridden by the Oompi Doompies.
Right, the Oompi Doompies start picking these dollar bills out of his pocket. He has wads of cash in there, and the Oompi Doompies can smell it.
Yeah,
they give it a
They
sniff.
can smell the money.
They smell the wealthy.
Yeah.
And they just start surrounding them. And they start chanting, Oompi Doompi.
this is
Doppity blop. We're gonna eat you
To the
and take
last
your money.
drop.
they haven't agreed on the lyrics to their song.
No.
These
And
are
then
unrehearsed. They're just
Yeah, they even said to each other, "We'll get it in rehearsal."
They don't always rhyme.
they're making these up on the spot.
Yes, completely improvised.
They
these
only
songs
improvise.
were.
They only had the one song that they actually planned. They didn't plan on anyone being wealthy.
Yeah.
So they surround Veronica and her father.
Yeah.
And they start to devour them. They're eating them live, and they're shrieking
Much
and
to
screaming.
the horror of everyone else.
And there's just clothes afterward. Just clothes. And then the Oompi Doompies go back to their business.
Yep. Just go back to
Milling about the
sorting meat.
warehouse.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
even know what they were doing before.
Jeez, leading these animals around and upkeeping the place.
I
don't
guess.
freaking
Who
know.
knows? But anyway, so they're happy about this room, and they're just eating parts of the scenery and the animals.
Yeah, they all move on pretty quick from this murder.
Yeah. And so they're going. They kind of just go.
They're like, all right, to the next
and
room.
Next room. And so they're going through this corridor, and they're passing by doors. And Willy Dilly's like, "This is where something's happening, and something else is happening over here. Some cool things over here. And
meat."
don't ever go in this room. There's a secret in here. I'm not gonna tell you what it is. It's bone marrow."
But listen, you can lick any of these doorknobs.
Yeah, lick the doorknobs and you'll be able to taste what's
taste
inside.
like good things, meats.
Meats and
Like this
such.
one's really salty. It's the meats, and
they're going down the licking things and like this doorknob tastes like pepperoni. This doorknob tastes like honey ham, and this doorknob tastes like smungled.
And they're like, "What is that?" And he's like, "I made it up.
Let's keep
it's
going."
the new meat."
And so Jean licks one of the doorknobs and she's like,
This tastes great. Let's go into. Hey, Carly, why don't you come over here and let's go into this room?
and Carly's like, "No, we were just told. Did you not hear? We were not supposed to go in this room." And Jean goes inside. Jean goes in.
She opens it with her mouth.
And they go inside.
They go inside
and they see these
cows being siphoned from their bone marrow.
Yeah, like just big huge
syringes.
are being injected.
They don't seem to mind it too much.
No.
The cows are they're fine with it.
Yeah, they're.
I guess they've been bred to not feel pain or something. I don't know, but the Grumpy Doompies turn to them and they see them enter this bone marrow room.
And they're like,
Well, you've seen it. Want to taste it?
And Carly's like, what the
And Jean's like, I'm on board. And then she goes and she puts one of the syringes just right in her mouth and right in there.
And she said, oh, it's the greatest.
And she starts to float away. and she starts freaking out because she's used to being grounded. She doesn't
Used to standing on the ground.
and she starts to float away and Carly grabs her hand and is like, Jean, no, like you're and Jean starts to carry her up with her, and they start to float toward the ceiling, and they look up to the ceiling, and there's a bunch of spikes at the top. They're just
For no reason. It's like
No
almost like a
goddamn
meat
reason.
tenderizer or something. But why?
That's kind of.
and the ceiling starts to lower,
And the walls start to come in,
and they're floating toward these spikes, and
and the oopie doopies are down there. Yes,
chanting, taste the meat, be the meat.
be the meat.
and they're Carly's freaking out. Jean's still kind of okay with it.
She's like, well, what a way to go out.
Carly's like, we got to make ourselves vomit. And so they start sticking their fingers. Well, Carly starts.
Carly didn't even have any of the bone marrow.
Yeah.
Jean is just carrying her up toward the ceiling. So Carly's sticking her finger in Jean's mouth, trying to get her to vomit, and Jean's just like, whoa,
Gonna take more than that.
and slobber's just pouring all down on Carly's head. It is a graphic scene. And then just this grandmother, she starts to vomit a little bit, and it's just awful.
And slowly starts to lower.
And they slowly start to lower back down. The ceiling starts to go back toward the top, and the walls
start
go
to
back
part.
out. Like, it was only just because they were floating. And the Oompy Doompies they're like disappointed,
They're visibly,
obviously. You know.
disappointed.
Damn it. We were so close.
And then
So close.
at this point, Willy Dilly bursts in the room.
Like, what the fuck's going on in here?
And he's like, you need to get the fuck out of my factory. And then he starts to lead him toward the exit.
You've broken the rules.
And Jean very incoherently tries to explain that it wasn't Carly's fault. You know?
Yeah. Like, it wasn't her fault. It wasn't my fault. Nobody's to blame here except for those weird ass oopie doopies.
They offered it to us, and he's like, I told you not to go in here.
Yeah.
And they come to an agreement that they won't go in any more doors that he tells them not to.
It's like, all right, we'll
How
finish the
about this?
tour.
How about this? I just want to go into more rooms.
And yeah.
He's like, well, you know, it'd be harder to backtrack to the exit at this point, so let's just keep going.
We're like 2/3 of the way
you know,
through
whatever.
the tour.
We're almost there. So.
Yeah.
And so
To find somebody to show you the door, it's too much work.
the Oompy Doompies don't know the exit. They can't get out of here. I can't let them know where that is. So he leads them on to the rest of the tour.
Leads them back, and he brings them up to where they were, back to catch them all up. And two kids are already gone.
Yeah, Carly's like, what happened to Steve Sirius XM radio? And
He got turned into a ham on the radio.
Yes,
it was a whole pun. It was great.
you missed it. It was
The
great.
Oompy Doompies rhymed this time.
And the only other
They had choreography.
kid was Maggie. So you're the last one. Maggie also is gone.
Yeah, I guess you win.
So you want to run this factory or what?
And Carly's like, what?
What
No.
Why? What
Not
do
at
you
all.
mean?
He's like, only a kid can run this factory.
Why? I'm 12.
Yeah, that's the perfect age.
Listen here, have another token.
And guess where you can put it? And then Jean
Gene is like, no, we need
this
to.
this is far too
we
much.
need to leave right now.
And they start running. They start running, and Willy Dilly, Willy Dilly, he's back there. He's like, "Stop those tourists!" And all these oompy doompies start coming out of doors,
Crawling out of vents.
oompy doompy doompy doompy
Doopy doopy doopity dill. We're all about to
kill.
come in for
you.
the kill. They didn't rehearse this. They didn't know this
They
was
didn't
gonna happen.
rehearse it.
So they find their way back to the train, and they shut the doors on the Oompy Doompies. And the train instead of going back the way they came, continues the way they were going.
They're like, why is this train moving?
There's another stop? How big is this factory?
And they realize that Willy has climbed onto the back of the train and is saying weird shit, which is the thing that powers this train.
That's right. It's
so
Willy
like,
Dilly.
stop saying weird stuff,
cryptic
Willy.
stuff. And the train, they starts to go upward. Mm-hmm. It hits this curve and it starts to just shoot toward the ceiling.
45 degrees.
45 degrees and straight up to the
degrees.
ceiling.
90 degrees.
And
180
so
degrees.
They tumble toward the back of the train, and they're back there with Willy Dilly, who puts his arms around him and he's just saying weird shit.
He's saying it faster and louder, which is making the train move faster and louder.
And lights are starting to flicker outside.
Mm-hmm.
And they erupt through this glass ceiling. They just shatter right through it.
Mm-hmm. They
and
break the glass ceiling.
They've broken the glass ceiling.
And the train, the parts of it fly off, and the only compartment that they're in, the caboose, starts to fly.
Just up towards...
Just up in the sky. Like, the other parts of the train are crashing down upon the city and causing all this destruction and carnage. The rest of the factory starts to blow up.
Yeah, it's like crumbling inward and then
imploding.
and then imploding, and parts are catching fire, and there's
Oompy Doompies
meat.
are trying to crawl out, but they're just getting sucked in.
The news crews are having a heyday out there.
Yeah.
They're like, Willy Dilly comes out of retirement, destroys factory, escapes in flying train.
His pants are still down.
And, yeah, we just kind of get them hovering over the city.
Hovering over the city. And Carly's like, what was this all for? What was the point of this?
Why, after 10 years, did you finally break your silence with this?
And Willy Dilly's like, I was tired of being a shut-in. I needed to show this world what I can do, and that's what we're gonna do.
And so this train goes into space, because he's saying the weirdest shit of all time, and they
Like
start,
that.
Like, what the hell does
they're
that mean?
flying high at this point.
Yeah.
And so they go into space.
Jean, for one, is loving it.
She's the only one having a good time.
Laughing, having a fantastic
She's like,
time.
this is great. This is so great.
Will there be more meat? I'd love some more meat.
Fuck the other grandparents.
Yeah, and then we get their grandparents in the bed, and they see the flying train go by into
It's
space.
What Carly always dreamed of.
And
Which it's not.
yeah, she never wanted this.
The mother said, "This is what Carly has always dreamed of."
Being in a
She
flying
doesn't seem to
train.
know her daughter.
Yeah, not
the
at all.
mother just wanted Jean out of the picture. So she got what she wanted, I guess.
So now it's just her and 17 other grandparents.
And
that's
that's
the
that.
end.
Willy Dilly's
Willy
Wonky
Dilly
Factory.
goes off into the sunset, spouting nonsense about destroying the world with meat.
Yeah. There was never a sequel. It seemed like it was setting up for a sequel.
Yeah, because
Right.
it said Willy Dilly will return.
To be continued?
Will return to be continued? Question mark.
Return to be continued.
And then the question mark turns into meat.
Right. He's talking
A
about like
salami
curing all of the meat in the world.
Yeah.
Even the people need the most
goodness.
curing. The
Yes.
people
There you go.
Humans are just meat sacks and they're diseased. I'm gonna cure these meats.
Right, he gets
you
very
memorized a
oddly
lot of
specific.
Willie's
yeah.
lines, Greg.
Oh, well, I don't know. There was something about the things that he was saying that made me feel as though I should be remembering what he was saying
You
and
think
maybe
Willie made
implement them
some-
into life.
Good points.
Well, I wouldn't say that he made good points, but I certainly agreed with a lot of the points that I thought were good that he said.
I don't agree with a lot that you say.
Yeah, I don't agree with you almost ever.
Well, that's okay. It's okay to be wrong sometimes.
And that was Willy Dilly's Wonky Factory.
Willy Dilly Wonka Factory.
We did gloss over the other songs that were throughout.
That's right.
Because
Yeah,
it wasn't just the Oompy Doompies singing.
No, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. With Veronica Peppers, she had a whole song about how she wants things and she deserves things. And...
I want a meat cow. I want it meat now.
Uh-huh.
I want a meat chicken, and it better be finger licking.
And quicken. Because she wants it fast.
Yep.
You dickin'.
Don't make me sicken.
So that was one of the songs.
That was one of them.
Sylvester didn't get a song. He died too quick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sylvester didn't get a song.
Steve Sirius
Sirius
XM Radio.
didn't get a song.
I mean,
No,
he died off
we
screen.
came back. Yeah, after that.
And Maggie didn't get a song. either.
No, we don't even know how Maggie went.
No.
Probably
that's
something to do with
right.
lollipops. I don't know.
Maybe.
It was never
We can hope.
explained. Yes,
We can hope.
I guess. 8 out of 10.
6. 6 out of 10.
7 out of 10.
I like with all of the weird out of left field shit that Willy Dilly says and the way that he acts. Like, it's kind of a quirky character. He's pretty prevalent in the pop culture zeitgeist.
Yeah, I'd say right
not
up
a word
there
podcast.
with...
We can only assume he was spending 10 years just building this train that launched into space.
That's what he was doing.
Stopped producing meat because he was building a train
Yeah.
to go to space.
Well, it sounds like he
Yeah.
was still producing meat. That's the
Yeah.
weird part.
Yeah.
He
He's just
just had it in his factory.
Pharaoh-equinologistic meat monger.
This is not a word podcast,
Sorry.
Greg.
Good word, though.
Thank you. Pharaoh-equinologist.
Great.
Train enthusiast.
Yeah. What a film. This
I remember it being less fucking weird.
Yeah, I saw this as a kid. Which, considering the amount of times that Willy was just like, "What the fuck?" You know, like it was weird.
It's not a children's film.
Not at all.
How did I see this movie?
I mean, it got like a PG rating, but it was like back in the day before they had
Right.
PG-13. And I guess it wasn't bad enough for R. I thought it was plenty bad enough for R.
Oh yeah,
You see animals slaughtered on screen.
yeah. Willy Dilly's
They drop
pants
more than
drop.
one F-bomb.
They
Many.
drop more than one pair of drawers.
And that's true. You do see the outline of Willy Dilly's dilly.
Dilly.
You could have said it's Willy too. Right?
Yeah.
Oh,
But yeah, this was based on a book by a slightly different title,
right.
which was Carly Pail's Wonky Factory, which doesn't make sense because Carly doesn't own it.
Carly Pail and the Wonky Factory.
Maybe that was it.
I think they go into more detail in the book about where the Oompy Doompies, the Doompy Woompies,
Oompy doopies.
Oompy Doopies, where they come from.
Oh, really?
I think so. I think that I haven't read the book, but I've heard about it.
That's really
That makes me an
helpful.
expert.
Yeah,
That's
great.
great. That's
Perfect.
really
Yeah.
revealing.
I was just kind of wanted to brag about that.
That
You've
you
heard
that
of
you
a
heard
book?
about a
Have you heard
book
of this
once.
book? Because I sure have. Yeah.
All right. Well,
You ever heard of a little guy named Charles Dickens? I've heard of him.
well, if you would like to submit a film for us to review, you can reach out via email at cineplexpodcast@gmail.com or on Twitter at cineplexpodcast.
Tweet.
Great. So we should put this this brilliant plan into motion of you guys helping me out on a
Wingman.
date. Yeah.
Wingmen.
A couple winged men.
Uh-huh.
Just call us angels, because we're winged men.
Just call us your shoulder angel and devil. You can pick who's what.
I think we know.
Yeah, I think we know.
Yeah, I think we know. I'm the angel.
No, great.
Oh,
Well,
fuck.
some of us know.
Well, thanks for listening.
Hey, thanks you.
You specifically.
Hey, thank you. We're looking at you
Right now.
right now. We're watching you. Turn around. Oh, we're gone.
Bye.
Goodbye, I guess.